Dear friends, today we are looking at Jesus being tempted by Satan in the wilderness. In Hebrews we are told that Jesus was tempted as we are, yet without sin. So what can we learn? How does temptation work, and what are we called to do in response? Resistance to temptation is often characterized as a stoic refusal of need. So, refusing to turn stones into bread, even though he is hungry, is seen as Jesus gritting his teeth, saying, "I must resist my bodily needs in order to get closer to God. Fasting is a virtue, and I must be virtuous." Is this really the heart of what is going on spiritually here, where resistance to temptation is just a matter of strengthening our will? I think not. Let us ponder the character of our enemy for a moment, for there are things that we know about the tempter. The enemy is the prince of this world, which means in charge of the social realm or social approval. He's the accuser, the one who points the finger of blame, i.e. exercises social disapproval. The deceiver, the one who sows confusion and doubt, especially self-doubt, doubt that the Father loves us. And the father of lies, who will twist truths to serve dark purposes. If this is the character, it really makes sense to understand his tempting of Jesus in terms of Stoicism. I suspect there's something else going on. Look at a different temptation for a moment to help get things clear. Jesus is shown all the kingdoms of the world and told all will be his if he but worships the deceiver. The Satan can truly offer this, because the world, in the sense of worldliness, not in the sense of creation, is his realm. In what way might this be a temptation? Well, is it not simply the temptation to seek social approval? And what is that if not a form of validation for the self? In other words, I think what the Satan is trying to do here is probe Jesus' armour for weakness, the weakness being where Jesus might have a sense of who he is that isn't grounded on God alone. So let's return to that Hebrews comment, that Jesus was tempted as we are, yet without sin. The difference between ourselves and Jesus is that Jesus' sense of who he is entirely grounded upon the love that the Father has for him, explicitly shown at Jesus' baptism, and it was echoed in last week's story of the Transfiguration. "This is my Son whom I love." Jesus never allows anything to break that fundamental sense of self as grounded in the love of the Father. When we rest on that foundation, then the devil cannot find a way in either. And that is how we are to resist temptation, not by trying to strengthen our wills, but by resting in God's grace. It's not willpower that's needed, it's faith. So, to return to the temptation of bread, the issue is not about building up a capacity to fast, it is to trust that the Father will supply everything that is needed, including those things that feed the soul as much as the body, for we do not live by bread alone. Lent is a time when we are to prepare ourselves for Easter, and Easter is joyful to the extent that Lent is serious, but this is not a time for us to try and build up our own strength of will, for it is not through our own power that we resist the evil one. So here's a challenge for you for this Lent. Seek to discern an area of your life where your actions are guided by a fear of social disapproval, and a clue for where that might be is an overuse of the language of should and ought. If you can pay attention to that language, see if you can rephrase what is being described using the language of the first and second commandments. In other words, not "I should do X," but "I will do X because I love." As you ponder that question, do not be afraid of the consequences that will come from letting go of the shoulds and oughts, for part of faith is to let go and let God take charge of that. To withstand temptation means allowing God to take charge, allowing the holy defender to respond to the unholy accuser, and there is a freedom that comes from this, and a peace which this world, and most especially a peace that the ruler of this world, simply cannot give. It's that peace which gives the strength and capacity to resist temptation. So may his grace go before you this Lent, to strengthen you to resist the tempter's power, and enable you to do Christ's work, abiding in his peace. Amen.